it's Becky, and I have an earring tutorial for you today. Some of you may know and are aware and have been following along with me on my little journey of a little personal challenge that I set for myself to create one pair of earrings every day this month. And so far, I've been pretty much on track. There was one day that I had to upload two because I was out of town and I couldn't upload one of my shorts. But I'm basically recording them in time lapse so that I can fit them within the 1 minute time period for those things. And in one of my shorts, I went ahead and made these, and I asked if anyone would want a real-time tutorial on how to make these, and I got a positive replies, actually more than one. So I'm going to do that today, and it's basically making this link with some wire wrapping so that there's a loop on one end and a loop on the other end, and you can attach a dangle or you can make it as part of a chain. It would be great as part of a chain in a necklace or a bracelet, I think. So I'll make the component and then I'll attach a charm to the bottom and it'll be a pair of earrings, but you can use this in other ways. It doesn't have to just be earrings for that. And let's see. So I've got my beads. The beads that I'm using came out of the Softflex TGBE kit, their Spring Fling kit. I actually missed the Spring Fling where they have a whole bunch of different bead companies and people who run those bead companies come on and they do presentations for like an entire weekend. And there's usually like some new techniques that you can learn, and they have kits that they sell. You don't have to buy the kits to participate. But I missed most of it, so I'm on Team Replay, and I'm probably going to be making a few things with this. But I thought I would use some of the beads from there and some of the charms from that kit for this tutorial. So I've got these kind of round coin-shaped beads. And it doesn't have to be round when you do this sort of thing with this kind of link. It just kind of works better for me when it's round, but you can do them if they're square. You can do them if they're rectangular, as long as you have a hole in it and it kind of has an edge that the wire can be up against with that. So I'm going to be using those. I have two 5mm jump rings that I'm going to be using to attach these charms to, and these charms came in the design kit. I believe they are tiara cast charms, but who doesn't love sunflowers? I love sunflowers. They are the best. Now, the wire that I'm going to be using for the wrapping is 20 gauge wire, and it's just a little bit thicker than 22 gauge, and so I like it for that. It's also will fit inside of the hole in the bead. Sometimes 18 gauge doesn't quite fit, so I'm using 20 gauge for that. And the tools that I'm going to be using are some chain nose pliers. I'm going to be using some 6-step bail making pliers for making my loops, and I'm going to be using some flush cutters for cutting my wires. So I'm going to move these out of the way so that they are not distracting for the camera and get this started a little bit. Let me move some of these others out of the way. I'm just going to make one on camera here for this tutorial, and then I'll film the other one on time lapse, and I'll have it for today's short for my earrings that I made today. And I'm just going to bump this up so that I don't keep bumping it, but I'm going to zoom so you guys can see what I'm doing. All right, I feel like that's a little bit better. All right, so I'm just going to warm up the wire a little bit with my fingers so that it bends easier and is easier to control. I'm just holding it in the middle and then warming one end and then turning it over and warming it the other end so that I don't have like a huge kink or anything in it. And so I'm going to take my coin-shaped bead. I'm going to slide it to the middle of my wire, and this wire it's probably a little bit longer than I need it to be, but I feel like it's always better to have more than to have not enough. And so this is let's see, let me get my tape measure out actually, because I'm not sure exactly how long this was. It just felt like I measured with my sole basically, but I feel like it's about 8 inches. I feel like that. Yeah, it's about 7 or 8 inches. You could get away with probably like 5.5 or 6. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a pretty sharp bend right here next to the bead. And this one, like, it's going to slide around, so it doesn't have to be right next to it. But wherever this sharp bend is, right here, I'm going to slide this bead down here. I'm going to make a sharp bend going the opposite direction with my pliers. And be very careful with bending next to glass beads like this, because it is possible to break them. So I've got a bend going in both directions, and it's okay if it wobbles a little bit, that's fine. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make a loop on this side, and I'm going to choose this second step in my 6-step bill making pliers. This is the first one, it's the smallest one. And this one is the one that it's closest actually to a 5mm. And you know what? Having this twist out of the way so that you can grip it is great. All right, so I'm gonna bend this around the top of my bill making pliers. I'm gonna rotate my pliers so that I can keep bending it all the way around like that. I'm gonna have that going in this direction, that way. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to bend it all the way around so that it's going in the same direction that it's already going. So I'm going to grip this, bend it around, rotate these pliers so they're out of the way, and that one is going in that direction, so I want this one to go in this direction. All right. If you want to rotate the loop a little bit so that it gets closer to that, that's fine. And now I've got these loops. Just gonna flatten this out a little bit with the flat part of these pliers, just because it got a little bit twisty while I was bending the other one. All right, so now I've got my loops going in both directions. I'm gonna pinch the bead and this loop and then just press on that side to go around the bead. And I'm going to take the other side and I'm going to press around the bead until it goes around on the opposite side from where the other one was at. So now you've got a nice little wire wrap around your bead. And you know, you can press it with your fingers and help it get smoother onto there. All right, and this one's going to be a little loose until I finish wrapping it. But I'm going to start with this one. I'm just going to bend it around, and I'm only going to wrap it like around once. And then I'm going to cut off the end because I don't want to choke up my loop too much. And because it's 20 gauge, it's pretty strong. It's not going to come undone. All right, and I'm just going to tuck in that end. Be careful with tucking in your ends around a glass bead because it is possible to chip it. I have done that before. It is not fun. All right, so now I've got this end wrapped. I'm going to do the same thing on this side where I've got the wire coming up around here. I'm going to pinch it and bend. You could adjust this. It might come off of the around part. You can bend it around once. And that feels like that is enough for me. And I'm going to go ahead and cut this off pretty close to my wrap. All right, and tuck in my little end here. All right, and I have a link that is going to be like the center point, the center part of my earring. Like I said, you can use this as a component in bracelets, in necklaces, anywhere where you might have a link that you're using. But I'm going to use it for an earring. And I'm going to attach this ear wire to the top. And I have a very, very short how I make my favorite ear wires tutorial. I'll link that below. Like, it's 2 minutes long. It's not very long at all. And that's what I made this with, is with some 22 gauge wire. Let me open up this jump ring. I've got there we go. And now I can put my sunflower charm and my gorgeous queen bead on there and close it up. Come on, buddy. There we go. And I have an earring. And that's how you make these. So I'm gonna go ahead and make my second pair. I've already got one that has 2 that I already made it of that one. And this was from the Jessie James Magical Mystery Bead Box. That's where I got these beads out of, and these charms. But yeah, so as long as you've got sort of a flattish bead that has these edges on the side, you can make a little link using some wire wrapping and have yourself either part of a necklace, part of an earring, or part of a bracelet. And I'll make the rest of this and I'll upload it to my shorts. Thanks for hanging out with me, guys. I hope you had fun. Bye.